Idea for television show. Gordon Ramsay's Dog Island.
Well, I think Ramsay's is going to have some time open up. They're not bringing Kitchen Nightmares back for a 7th season in the U.S., so could be available. This could be an opportunity. What is Gordon Ramsay's Dog Island?
Huh?
Oh, is that it?
No. What, you think I'd just come in and my only idea this week was a name? Is that what you're accusing me of?
Well, I mean, I don't want to bring up the past.
Let's
or anything.
let's change gears here. So the dogs, they're cooking for Ramsay, right?
What?
They're making meals, dog meals.
Why?
Yeah.
What's the association there?
Well, Ramsay's he does the thing with the food, the chef stuff, and
Does he?
normally when people are around him, they're cooking. So I figured the dogs would be doing that.
Well, I'm confused at which is the problem here actually, because with Jim Brown it could have gone a couple of ways. It could have been, what's the association with the cooking, or what's the association with the dogs, which I think we should make quite clear that it's called Gordon Ramsay's Dog Island.
Yeah, which I do have an idea for, so before you judge me, Mr. Judgy Pants, hear me out on this one, okay? This is going to blow your socks off, right? What's the association with... I've always associated Gordon Ramsay with dogs. It's good that you say you might have some free time, because we need about 7 years for this idea to really work. Because really, the idea for the show doesn't start until he's been on the island for 7 years. Gordon Ramsay, who apparently I've just found out is some sort of chef, despite being on TV. We put him on this island with several species of dog. Okay? Some of them pedigree, some of them mongrel breeds, equal amount of male to female, so that these dogs can breed on the island. Gordon Ramsay is there. There's a lighthouse on the island. That's where he lives. We give him 7 years worth of tinned food. To really make this interesting, it's one type of food. Like, I'm thinking, steak tips. Tinned steak tips. And he's got a little gas cooker. He can cook that up. As much water as he needs. Evian, only the best. We leave him there for 7 years with no human contact and just the dogs. And that's when the show starts.
So this is like, what's that one with the ball? The volleyball. Castaway. Gordon Ramsay edition.
Yeah, but with more dogs and enough time for a man to be very emotionally affected by living on nothing but an island full of barking dogs.
Okay, few questions.
Mm-hmm. Shoot, from the hip, absolutely, always.
That sounds expensive for reality programming, because if we're talking about a 7-year investment, I know he doesn't come cheap. We may run into a problem using Gordon Ramsay in this context. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying he might not go for it, but we may need to pitch an angle to him that isn't just about the money.
It's the chance to spend 7 years hanging out with dogs on an island.
He does like dogs. He has.
You can imagine him.
He has a little bulldog. I know. Yeah.
You can imagine him I'm Gordon Ramsay. I'm having a fucking great time. Fucking chipolatas. Right, and then he's on an island, he's like, oh, look at the dogs, they're licking at me, oh, there's so many dogs, I don't know what I'm doing. The charm level alone, this is primetime family viewing.
And I see that. He's certainly a lovable, heartwarming figure, to some, but I guess...
That one's a Dalmatian, I could imagine him saying.
Right, yeah, but the 7 years later... You would expect that the reaction to the dogs might be a little bit different.
Yes.
I don't know if in 7 years after having been in this island, we're going to get the same kind of bright, ebullient, charming, entertaining, heartwarming Gordon Ramsay with dogs. I think we're far more likely to see something adversarial, maybe even feral. And that concerns me. I'm concerned for a camera crew being, out there amongst Gordon Ramsay 7 years without human contact.
Well, there is a high probability that he could get very angry and aggressive and completely change his demeanor. I mean, he could start yelling at these dogs. He could start throwing things at these animals. I mean, I'm not sure if we should be taking that risk.
Well, I think that's the element of drama that I find so exciting about Gordon Ramsay's Dog Island. We don't know what 7 years on an island full of dogs, and when I say full of dogs, I mean full of dogs, will do to Gordon Ramsay, celebrity TV personality. Will he start thinking like the dogs, like some sort of canine quisling, and start crawling around on all fours and barking like a dog? Will he hunt and kill the dogs after becoming so tired of steak tips? Will he start believing himself to be some sort of dog god and erect himself in a position of power over these dogs and expect supplication? And will the dogs in turn yield to this man and praise him as some sort of deity? We just don't know.
Now, the bigger question is, are we asking him after he wakes up from his coma? Is this something we're signing him on to now?
Well, that's part of why I had the idea. I mean, right now, because of situations that may or may not be our own fault, Gordon Ramsay is currently in a comatose state. But can you imagine the surprise when he wakes up and he's in a lighthouse with nothing but the sounds of the ocean that is desperately struggling against the sound of, like, literally several thousand dogs?
Well, okay. Now, if you just told me this was damage control, I'd have been on board immediately.
Yeah! That's exactly what it is. I was worried that you thought I wanted to try and make Gordon Ramsay have sex with a dog, which I don't want to do. That wasn't my idea at all. I don't want to see him kissing dogs.
Well, no, but I mean, if it's therapeutic for him to wake up on a lighthouse in the middle of nowhere with nobody but dogs to communicate and live with for a length of time that he can't possibly define, and that means we don't get sued for putting him into a coma.
And if he has sex with the dog,
that's just
no harm, no foul.
That's just icing. We're in a business where irresponsibility is sort of, what you do, and I get that. I understand it. Sometimes you really just want to call someone out on truth in advertising. I know, sounds like a betrayal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I like truth in advertising as a thing we tell people we are in favour of, but you're talking about truth in advertising as a genuine concept that people should adhere to?
Well, look, okay. I made a purchase recently, and the item was described in a very specific manner, using terminology that would lead one to have an expectation. I know how the game works, but the product that I received was so far removed from the description that I'm actually offended. I ordered a giant gummy bear.
Okay.
That's what I bought.
Yeah.
It was just called Giant Gummy Bear. Now, when you think giant gummy bear, you have an expectation. Giant implies gigantic, suggests very, very large. Relative to your perception, giant should be large.
Okay. Well, I mean, I've encountered giant gummy bears before, so I already have an idea of,
right.
of what you're suggesting, that the size was inadequate.
The size was clearly inadequate.
Okay. Well, how big a gummy bear are we talking?
We are talking about from toe to tip, 7 inches.
7 inches.
7 inches.
That's a fairly large gummy bear.
That is relative to a gummy bear. In all fairness, that is pretty giant.
But that's relative to a gummy bear. Okay? I'm the one making the purchase. It should be relative to what I think is. I was expecting a 7 fucking tall Jolly Green giant ass.
You wanted a 7 foot tall gummy bear.
That was my.
You wanted like a human size, like bigger than human. You
big?
want a giant
bigger,
human
clearly.
You want, say, a gummy bear that could stand next to, say, the WWE wrestler Kane and dwarf him.
Yes,
Okay.
that's what I think of giant.
Okay.
Goliath was thought of as the giant,
Yeah.
Right?
But then Goliath was giant relative to humans.
Relative to David, right?
Yeah, but he wasn't, like, 700 times the size of David. He was taller.
What's your point?
Well, how much was the giant gummy bear?
$5.99.
That's like
I'm just thinking for
a
$5.99,
box of Sour Patch Kids, Conrad. How
a
can you?
7-inch gummy bear seems fairly reasonable.
Are you talking about $5.99?
No,
$599.
$599. I spent $599 on a giant gummy bear, and it's 7 inches.
Ah.
I'm not talking like around the tip here. That would have been impressive.
Mm-hmm.
So the bigger question is, why are you spending $599 on a giant gummy bear?
Well,
What were you using it for? You wanted to eat this gummy bear? Was this to please Dean Cain?
no.
I hope it was cherry flavored, FYI.
I mean, I was just hungry. But I was gonna totally put it on a client account. I figured I'd put it on Kilmer, because who'd notice?
Well, that is true. I've been dining on Kilmer, like, for the past 5 weeks. Not literally. Well, not always literally. So it's good that you did that. It's good that you're not spending your own money. Better we spend someone else's money. That's always been my credos here. But at the same time, if you're hungry, I mean, I don't think any amount of gummy bear is going to satisfy that. I would eat a dinner rather than any sort of gelatin product. It's not particularly nutritious or filling. That also may be an issue why you've been going wrong, and it might be why you're so cranky here. I assume you ate the gummy bear.
Well, yes, but I didn't get to live out my fantasy of climbing into it and eating my way out. And that was the whole point.
You want to live in a hollowed out gummy bear. Like similar to, say, a Wampa. After the Wampa ice creature attacks Luke Skywalker in Empire Strikes Back, you want to live inside it as you would a Tauntaun on Hoth. I understand that. So really what we're saying, I mean, we're looking at this as a problem and not as an opportunity. There's a gap in the market for unreasonably sized gummy bears.
That's what I'm getting at. We have a business opportunity here.
We
could get the Haribo guys together and say, hey,
Mhm.
why don't you make life-size gummy bears?
Well, kids and grown-ups love it so.
So let's just say, theoretically, we get the Haribo, whatever you call them, guys, on the line. They're on board. What would we call them if not giant? If giant gummy bear is not big enough for you, how would we even market this?
Terrible.
Terrible.
Terrible gummy bears.
Terrible gummy bear.
Yeah, in the same way I'm thinking of Ivan the Terrible, like intimidating gummy bears. Like, these are the kind of gummy bears that you'd be afraid to share a room with.
These aren't your granddaddy's gummy bears.
Not at all. No, these are dangerous gummy bears.
They're living on the edge. They're threatening. They're not something to be trifled with.
Not at all.
But you're gonna eat them.
These are the Unabomber of gummy bears.
This is the gummy bear that lives in the shack in the woods and quietly plots to overthrow the U.S. government.
This is the gummy bear that follows women home at night.
This is the gummy bear that occupies the dark alley that you pass by in sheer, breathtaking horror every night.
This is the gummy bear that sends chains out to tear your flesh off when you solve the lament configuration.
These are the gummy bears that impregnate your face, causing more gummy bears to burst out of your chest days later.
These are the gummy bears that are found in space, and eventually a man bitten by a radioactive spider wears it, but it starts in poisoning his mind and making him violent, so he gets rid of it, and then in rejection it finds a photojournalist who was recently shamed and gets on him and becomes Venom, but with gummy bears.
This is the gummy bear that rallies an entire dejected nation's bruised ego and turns it into a terror machine to dominate most of Western Europe.
This is the gummy bear that you've known for about 6 years and is perfectly fine and wouldn't hurt a fly, and you don't even know that he's part of a terrorist sleeper cell, and one day a train station's blown up.
So what you're saying is this is going to be a pretty good gummy bear.
Absolutely, the Val Kilmer of gummy bears.
Alright guys, so I thought we'd do something different today. I invited one of our clients in, Mr. Richard Bouguer. He's a new client with us, and he strongly suggested that he come in and talk to us directly about some of his ideas that he would like for us to market.
Okay.
And so I thought I'd just, bring him in, grab him a cup of coffee, and he could just chat with us. And so welcome, Richard.
Hi, thank you.
Brilliant. I'm always happy to hear from new clientele, especially if you've got ideas for us. I'm sure Caitlin filled you in completely about what we do here at FistShark Marketing. And what is it you have? What's the product? What's the angle? What's the vig here?
Well, for many years I've been interested in tasty treats and methods to deliver them to various markets, old, young, in between. The treats can be different types. How can you help me sell them to the children and the old and the young?
Tasty treats, you say?
Yes.
That's a product I've not heard of.
Which is odd. You would think, that just rolls off the tongue. Tasty treats.
Yeah,
Just-
well, I guess that's a good reason why for you to come here.
Years ago,
obviously.
Rick Springfield and I had a drink. It was very good, and I told Rick that if you stand on your chair, your waiter is much more likely to be afraid of you. You don't need to lead a tip. You don't even need to make eye contact. Simply stand on your chair, Rick, and drink your drink slowly.
Uh-huh.
Don't move, Rick.
Okay.
Don't move.
Okay.
So bringing it back to the treat part.
I'm really sick of these Asians.
What?
They don't like what I like. How can I get them to understand my importance?
How do you make tasty treats appeal to, say, the Asian market?
You're good. I like you.
So speaking of markets, what kind of markets do you want to focus on for your product?
About 20 years ago, I found myself in a urine-stained bedroom. Wasn't sure how I ended up there. Next to me was a 90-year-old woman. Last name, Francis. Never did get the first name. She told me she was pregnant. I couldn't believe her. I started to feel her abdomen with my hand, searching for any fecal or fetal matter. It was mildly erotic, to say the least. Breakfast in bed was not complimentary. I wouldn't return.
Good. Okay, that's...
And you shouldn't.
No.
Yeah, that's... I applaud your ethical standards and your ability to have an idea and follow through. So the tasty treats, let's discuss product. Let's talk game, as it were.
Is Tasty Treats an entire line of products, or is it just one individual item?
It depends on how big your mouth is. Depends on how open you are to new experiences. The police have been called on the three of you at this point. While you were trying to hurt me earlier in the meeting, I sent a business text to Officer Hank Garbin and asked the officer to arrive here in the building and sort the three of you out, because I don't take this kind of shit. Frankly. May I be frank?
You certainly have been throughout the entire meeting, I feel, and
I
I would be
appreciate
offended
that.
if you stopped.
I appreciate that. I appreciate
I would
that.
just like to
I
note
appreciate
that
I appreciate that.
Mr. Bouguer has
appreciate
paid a
that.
large sum up front.
Yes.
Just wanted to reiterate that point.
How much is a large sum?
The entire portion, 100%.
I am 100%.
Yeah, I'm hoping that was a joke.
I like
the police
this one
thing.
here. This one I like. What do you want? Name it and I'll do it. Right now.
Love to talk about your ideas for the product that you paid
What's-
for.
Yeah, if we could just isolate
Yes.
what tasty treats actually are, so we could better serve you.
Well, it depends on what region. When you're up in Canada, the Great White North, things can get a little bit difficult. Snowstorms, if you know what I mean. Way old down in Mexico, where the coffee grow, it's a whole different ball game.
So it's coffee.
What?
The treats?
I didn't say that.
Coffee flavored?
Who?
I mean, I'm assuming by use of the word tasty and treat, I mean,
Well.
this is some sort of food product, some sort of maybe snack or candy-based item.
Well, it depends. If you are trying to put words in my mouth, I'll tell you right now, I could use a tasty treat in my mouth, if you know what I mean.
No, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, I think that's the issue we're having here, is a slight communication issue. We don't know what you mean, sir.
Tasty implies consumption.
Maybe.
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 Yes.
You see, this is the issue, and possibly again why we've not heard of tasty treats on the market before. Is there's an inordinate amount of vagueness associated with the definition of the aforementioned tasty treats.
I'm not understanding you. What are you actually trying to say?
Okay. What are tasty treats?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Describe, okay, picture a tasty treat in your mind's eye.
Yes.
And describe to us what it feels like, what it looks like, and what it might taste like.
I see. In 6th grade, my enormous hands were immediately noticed by the gym teacher. Large, bulbous nose. I believe he was an alcoholic. He asked me, "How much you bench?" And I couldn't have been happier at his inquiry. So I grabbed him firmly by the hips, put my head into his belly button, which was quite wide, and I said, "Home is where the heart is." From there, I knew what I needed to do with my life, which is to make tasty treats for young and old.
Oh wait, tasty treats.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I have heard of them.
Rewind? I think we're done. We did
I
it.
think that was it.
Oh, that was
We
it?
just
We
ended with
accomplished our
Holmes
goal.
sobbing.
Oh, no, it wasn't so. I'm
No,
confused with the
no,
punchline
we
was.
gathered that. Yeah.
We did it, guys.
We did.
That was weird.
Yes, that was. FistShark Marketing is Jim Sterling, Conrad Zimmerman, and Caitlin Cook. Special guest appearance by Richard Bouget. Theme music by Ben Rama. Segue music by Alazar Chan. Our editor is Nick Malone. More episodes are available at fistshark.com. Follow us on Twitter at FistShark for more of our exploits. And if you like us, give us a rating or review on iTunes. Complaints can be forwarded via email to fistsharkmarketing@aol.com. And remember, good things come to those who wait. Better things come to those with money. Goodbye.